We always talk about 2012 kind of being the advent of real-time marketing, and then moving into 13, there was a little bit of almost like cynicism against it. And then in 14, we talk about how we can really harness paid media in order to bring to life what we could be doing in the adaptive space. So we have a lot of passion for it and a lot of focus on it. We debuted the Loop, which I think a lot of people have heard about now, which is essentially our proprietary operating system at Mindshare to understand everything that is going on in real time and how it can affect our individual clients and the individual brands within our clients' portfolio. So we've got the operating system. It's got over 100 data feeds coming into it. So we can understand kind of insights that we can extract from it and then how we can apply that immediately to a brand's job to be done and how we can kind of weave the brand story into culture nimbly based on what's going on. So we've got that. I think the other piece that we've worked really hard on over the past year is also kind of operationalizing our clients to get them ready from an infrastructure perspective, from a strategic perspective, in terms of how they can kind of really harness this power as well. Because a lot of big clients are just not necessarily designed to make decisions on a dime and get into market, but that's what it takes if we want to weave our brand story and our brand's message in real time. So we've done something over the past year that we've rolled out called Planning for Agility, and it's essentially a workshop that brings together all key stakeholders. From a client perspective, you could have legal at the table, corp comms, our digital creative agency, all the other partner agencies there, and we do what's called culture mapping as part of the workshop to understand what in culture, moments, events, big moments, small moments, across the kind of entire landscape where we could think about aligning our brand's DNA and weaving the brand into culture. So the idea is that, in fact, in the real-time world in which we live, I always say, forethought is more important than ever before. And if you can think that through, there are so many things that you can really be ready for, and we can be on our front foot in order to activate. As a part of this workshop, we talk about the importance of flexibility of budgets these days. I mean, it's unbelievably crucial that we keep that agile bucket of money that can be deployed depending on where the momentum of the conversation is going and where the heat of the conversation is going. So it's unbelievably important we have that. Ultimately, where we activate, it should be across the entire paid or earned continuum. I mean, it's not just about a pithy tweet anymore. That is not going to break through. It's really about how we can deploy paid media and dynamic creative and things like that in order to really embed a brand thoughtfully into what's going on in culture. We have a lot of partners within the Loop that are explicitly intended to be action partners that can help us create assets across the board. Those could be lightweight video assets, they could be heavier weight video assets, they could be anything you could think of. But the idea is to use our media partners as well as the kind of capabilities that we have at Mindshare within our Mindshare content group. And the notion is that we can actually be ready, so I talk about planning for agility, planning to be agile, but to actually think about the suite of assets that we might want to deploy against the entire paid, owned, earned continuum. We've got great media partners out there now that can really help us do this unbelievably nimbly. Going to video for a second, right? We know how powerful video can be to break through to engage a consumer. So when we look at video and we look about the kinds of assets that we can create in real time, video is a key asset for that. And when we think about the kind of assets that we're creating in real time, we often refer to them as content. And we do look at brand equity asset playing a very important role on a brand plan. It really puts the brand at the center, and content playing a crucial role at putting the consumer at the center. And those two elements working together can be really powerful in market, when they're kind of working together at the same time. I fundamentally believe if you can mechanize the process, like a brand, they need to understand what their adaptive marketing strategy is. It's just like any other strategy. It starts with a strategy, and if a brand can understand what their adaptive marketing strategy is going to be, then the ability to deploy it at scale is the easy part. And so something like planning for agility and going through the exercise of culture mapping and understanding what in culture we want to be prepared for is an incredible step, because you watch really complex clients that have a lot of brands, clients that have a lot of key stakeholders. Once they understand that there's a process to this, you can apply a process, they see that it is very possible to execute in market. So you're not debating the legalities around a particular piece of creative that's going to market, because you've templatized it to be ready to deploy. So I don't think it's a moment in time. It is not a niche. It is not for just certain brands. Every brand should want to be culturally relevant, and a way of doing that is to weave themselves into the cultural zeitgeist. A great recent example just came up with Huggies. So on April 3rd, Daniel Murphy, second baseman for the Mets, just announced that he was going to miss the first 2 games of the season because his wife was giving birth to their first son. So Huggies, who owns those milestone moments in parenthood, what a great time to think about a way to bring that to life in the advent of Daniel Murphy was getting all of this kind of blowback for missing these 2 games, for just wanting to be there with his child. So Huggies responded, as I always say, only Huggies could, by basically supporting Daniel and supporting fathers kind of across the country. So they partnered with the Diaper Network. It's a non-for-profit that delivers diapers to low-income Americans. And for every hashtag of Huggies supports Daniel, Huggies would actually donate diapers to the Diaper Network. So just understanding, we were in the loop, just understanding kind of how much chatter was going on about the fact that Daniel Murphy was going to miss those first 2 games. We were like, this could be something that, Huggies could really weave themselves into that conversation and do some good at the same time. So we adjusted our paid social, we leveraged programmatic, we adjusted our search in order to kind of weave ourselves into that conversation and really, kind of steer it into a good direction versus the fact that it was getting all this blowback.